Ce qui s'était passé ce soir-là, j'ai vécu ce que ma fille m'avait dit et j'ai pas réfléchi à ce que j'ai fait ou quoi. Je me rappelle juste du flash et juste qu'il fallait que je me sauve pour pas mourir, quoi.
The relationship Valerie has with Joelle, her mother, is tense. Joelle is an alcoholic. She enjoys chasing her daughter around the house with a knife and regularly beating her. Valerie is the only one of the children that is beaten. Her two brothers were never touched. Valerie is 11 years old when her mum meets Daniel Polette. They begin dating. Valerie meets him for the first time when she hears a strange noise coming from her mother's bedroom in the middle of the night. She runs to make sure her mother is okay. When she pulls open the door, she sees a man sprawled on top of her mother. She knows what they are doing and she realizes she has made a terrible mistake for which she will be punished. She runs quickly back to her room and hides trembling in her bed. The next morning, she is sure she will be beaten. But to her surprise, her mother seems happy. She tells Valerie that the man she saw last night, sprawled all over her, will be moving into the family home. Valerie is made to carry all of his belongings from his apartment to their house. The first shock she will have is when she enters his apartment. The walls are plastered with pictures of naked women, legs wide apart. The first few months that Daniel stays in the house, he seems pleasant, like he cares. Valerie is given attention and gifts for the first time in her life. She feels like she finally has a father. But quickly Valerie becomes uncomfortable. She is forbidden from locking the door when she showers, in case, of course, she falls. He often comes in just to make sure she is okay. And to make everyone's life easier, he removes the shower curtain completely. When she's just 12 years old, she steps out of the shower. Her mother is not home. Danielle walks into the bathroom and removes her towel. He SAs her for the first time. Then every night, she is subjected to the same horror show. She begins failing in school and she begins losing hope. Her pain and suffering has come with a stern warning. If she ever tells anybody, she will be in big trouble. And nobody would believe her anyway. In 1995, one of Daniel's sisters alerts the police about his deviant behavior. Valerie denies the allegations when the police question her. But after a medical examination, it is clear to the doctors that Valerie has been suffering for years. This is the first time little Valerie understands how bad the things he did to her really were. Daniel goes to prison for 2 years for SA of a child. You may think the story finishes here, but unfortunately, this is just the beginning. Joelle is heartbroken, not because the man she had trusted had taken advantage of her daughter, but because he had gone to prison. Valerie assumes her mother's pain is entirely her fault. This will shock you. As soon as Daniel steps out of prison, Joelle makes sure she looks as beautiful as she can so she can welcome him back into the family home. Because nobody finds this outrageous, not her family, not her biological father, or anyone in the village, Valerie begins to think that this must be okay. However, very quickly she will discover how wrong she was. Her torment starts up from exactly where it had left off 2 years earlier, but this time he is more violent, more cruel. Joelle knows what's going on, she just doesn't care. And she knew of other occasions too, from when Valerie was only 5 or 6 years old. At that time, she had suffered at the hands of other family members, including her brothers, and Joelle never intervened. This time, Valerie falls pregnant as a result of Daniel's behavior. Only at this moment does Joelle think, maybe I should get rid of this guy. She kicks Daniel out. She also tells Valerie to leave. Valerie, who is now pregnant, is all but cornered into moving in with Danielle. She doesn't know it, but she is about to suffer countless years of hell on earth, each year getting worse. They move together to Baudemont in Bourgogne. Valerie prepares herself for motherhood and promises herself one thing, that she will never become like her own mother, Joelle. The second Valerie gives birth to baby Dylan, she feels love like she has never known. Her baby boy has become her raison d'être and she is filled with hope for the future. This won't last long. Daniel can't stand life with the baby. He can't stand the noise, the mess, the fact that his coffee isn't served to him on time. It's too annoying for him and he lashes out, hitting Valerie for the first time hard across the face. She falls pregnant again with the second baby boy just after giving birth. It's baby Kevin. She is happy about it, but she knows that 2 crying babies is gonna make Daniel even angrier. Her life with Daniel is about to get much harder. She falls pregnant then for a 3rd time, and he hits her more often, not only physically attacking her, but psychologically too. This time he strangles her to near death. Then a sudden change. When he finds out the baby will be a girl, he is overjoyed. He never cared much for the boys, but this baby girl, he was obsessed in a creepy way. His joy doesn't last long and the violence quickly continues. It won't stop until Valerie understands that she is worthless. He smashes her over the head with a hammer because the Christmas lights are broken. He breaks her nose because he doesn't like dinner one evening. This is a house of horrors for the young boys too. He was violent with them all when he was drunk. He would decide in the house who could talk, when they could talk, who could leave. He owned all of them. Then Valerie falls pregnant once again with another baby boy, baby Erwin. The boys all took regular beatings and they carried on as best they could, but they were all suffering. Severely damaged, the youngest tied a belt around his neck when he was at school, when he was only 7 years old. Luckily, someone intervened before it was too late. Daniel would often frequent other women from the beginning of the relationship he had with Valerie, and then come back and tell Valerie all the details, sometimes going to the extent of showing her pictures of him with the other women. You get the picture. Valerie, mother of 4, didn't know that this wasn't how normal families lived. She had never been allowed to go out or meet friends or have any kind of social life, so she had no one to tell her what was normal. But she did really wish that one day he would leave her for one of these women. He never would. She was blamed for everything that went wrong in the house. Because she believed everything that Daniel said, she believed that everything was her fault. And slowly she would lose every God-given freedom that she had, including her self-worth. If you believe that things could not get worse for Valerie, you are sadly mistaken. She always dreamed of having a job, but he would never allow it. One time, one of the school mums got her a small part-time job in the town house. Daniel would accompany her for every one of her shifts, the shifts he allowed her to go to, which inevitably quickly led to her losing her job. Then he would tell her that she was too stupid to do anything other than selling her body to men. He decided to turn his little insult into a business, but in a particularly perverted manner. He set up his little van in an area of the forest which was known for the trade. He even made business cards to bring in the customers and kitted out his van with lube and baby wipes and protection, everything you could possibly need for that business. The worst part about this is he would watch every single encounter and he made her wear an earpiece through which he would instruct her in a low voice exactly what he wanted her to do. And he was kind of an expert in adult films, and so he was asking her to do some weird stuff. Valerie is forced to meet with her first client. He will watch her suffer as he makes his first 20 euros. Unsatisfied with his complete domination, he takes some needles and self-tapes them together, dips them in ink, and writes his name above her pubic bone, reiterating that she is his property. One morning, Daniel is mad. So mad he wants to kill her. He pulls out his gun and points it directly at Valerie and fires. The bullet narrowly misses her. She has been lucky this time, but she knows her days are numbered. He threatens her often pointing a gun at her, and the next time she might not be so lucky. Then out of the blue one day, Daniel comes home with 2 wedding rings, their names etched into the inside. Valerie is shocked. She's never loved Daniel. Only for a brief moment did she think he might be a good father figure when she was 11 years old, but that was brief. He forces her to marry him. As the children grow up, Dylan gets his first girlfriend, and she is terrified of Daniel. Carlene, their daughter, gets her first boyfriend, Lucas. Knowing her days are numbered, Valerie decides to take her daughter, Carlene, and her boyfriend, Lucas, to the police station. She wants them to go in and ask the police what they can do for her family. How can they help people in that situation? So Carlene and Lucas tell the police everything about the beatings, the violence, the trade that Valerie is forced to do in the forest. But the police will send them away, implying to them that they have better things to do with their time. Valerie is about to give up, but things are about to get dramatically worse for all of them. Danny sets his sights on his own biological daughter. Carlene was 14 years old when Daniel asks her to come into his bed. He asks her bra size. Carleen is terrified. She knows her fate. She knows that if something doesn't happen, she is going to end up exactly like her mother. Her body sold to any old man with 20 euros. Carleen tells her mum. Valerie realizes that she has to stand up to him if she wants to save her daughter. Valerie, who could never find the courage to stand up for herself, has finally been pushed to her limits. But what can she do? Lucas, Carleen's boyfriend, comes up with a plan. They will slip an obscene amount of sleeping tablets into his coffee, enough to kill him. As Daniel waits for his coffee, Lucas begins crushing the sleeping tablets up into a powder. Daniel is getting impatient. Valerie quickly adds some of the powder into the coffee, but Lucas says she needs to add more. So she does, and then she stirs it in and brings the coffee to Daniel. This scenario does not go to plan at all. Daniel takes the coffee and looks at it. He can tell it looks different, and Valerie knows it. He takes a small sip and almost spits it out. He says it's disgusting and refuses to drink it. But instead of just leaving it, he wants Valerie to drink it. All of it. She takes one sip, his furious glare fixed on her. Then she takes another. She can feel the half-crushed pieces of sleeping pill in her mouth. Then she manages to excuse herself and spits some of it out. However, she has consumed a really large amount. In a drugged state, she contemplates how easy it would be, how peaceful it would be to fall into an eternal sleep. Exhausted from the fear of trying to do something for her family and the heavy consumption of sleeping pills, Daniel takes her out to the forest. She has to face another customer. She knows this client. He's been before and he is awful. He has rotten teeth and foul breath, and he forces her to do particularly twisted things. And on this occasion, he's made a special arrangement with Daniel. He's paying extra to do something that she has never done before and is dreading with fear. She knows it will be excruciatingly painful. When the client arrives, Valerie categorically refuses. She will not accept her fate this time. Maybe because she's reached her wit's end, maybe because she's drugged with sleeping pills, maybe through fear of this ever happening to her daughter. She doesn't give up, and eventually the client leaves. But now she must face Daniel's wrath. He begins insulting her and threatening to kill her, as usual. But he says this time that he will make sure she never sees her children again. He returns to the car and starts the engine. Valerie follows him, half naked and still bleeding from the client. Then she opens the glove compartment of the car and sees one of his guns. She pulls it out and points it at him, closes her eyes and takes one shot. One shot that drives deep into Daniel's neck. He dies almost instantly.
Que j'étais encore toute nue, que je saignais. Je me souviens juste du flash et de l'odeur.
Immediately, she is filled with fear and regret and guilt for what she has done. She knows her children will be taken away from her. But she has saved her daughter from Daniel. She drives back home and tells her children. She begs them for forgiveness for taking their father's life, but they understand. They are there for her, and together they form a plan. Two of her sons and Lucas, Carleen's boyfriend, drive the body deep into the forest and bury him. At no point do any of the children cry or mourn the loss of their father. He is reported missing to the authorities. A small search party is launched and they go into the very forest where his body is buried. Valerie is petrified. She will go to prison for the rest of her life and nobody will be there to look after her children. They find nothing. It will be months before the police discover what really happened to Daniel, because Lucas's mum finds out and tells them everything. Valerie is placed directly in jail for 1 year awaiting trial. She does not doubt for a second that her sentence will be long, and she does feel like it is justified for her actions. In 2019, for 5 days, Valerie faces a courtroom full of judges and lawyers, fighting hard to put her back behind bars. But she is also surrounded by unanimous support from her own family and from other women who have heard her story and applaud her for her courage. Valerie Polette, one of Daniel's sisters, also attended the trial in support of Valerie.
Voilà. Donc là aujourd'hui je suis pour défendre Valérie, ouais. C'est sûr, c'est pas moi qui manque, hein. D'ailleurs je crois qu'il manque à personne en fait. C'est ça la vérité vraie.
Valerie is sentenced to 4 years in prison, 3 of which are suspended. Since she has already spent 1 year in jail awaiting her trial, she leaves the courthouse on June the 25th, 2001 as a free woman. My thoughts go out to Valerie for the life of hell that she had to live, for her children, and for every other woman who is, like Valerie, trapped in a dead-end situation. If you haven't heard already, there is new information coming out this week about the Jubilar case, the story that has France by the softies. Those of you who know, Delphine's body has still never been discovered, and the question as to who killed her is tearing the nation apart. So click here to check out her story. And if you're feeling festive, you can click the subscribe button down under my face, and most importantly, take care of yourselves. Bisous!